All right. You got to fix my life later. I got money on this. I want to stay in a good mood, keep positive, because this is fight night.
Don't make Michael grow up here. This isn't a beach town anymore. It's a sewer.
But it's my sewer, Jiminy, and I love it. I kick around about 6 square blocks. Everybody knows me. I got the whole town wired. Someday, if I manage to get my face on TV a few times, maybe I'll run for mayor or something. But that's as far as I want to go. Because I was made for this sewer, baby, and I am the king!
I read a GQ article about Nick Cage, so I have some stuff to say.
I've been following his press tour pretty closely, so
you should talk about that shit because I haven't, but it's probably really interesting.
It's very entertaining to follow. He went on the first talk show he's been on in like 15 years, apparently, when he went on Kimmel.
Wow.
And he was just like electric up there, man. He was wearing
electric.
He's wearing like an all silver suit. He's like, I wanted to embody a piece of tinfoil on the top of a truck. And then I went and bought that outfit, and here I am. And he's just an all silver, and everyone's just cheering. It's just bizarre.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, I the only thing I saw was his Reddit AMA.
Yeah, that's good too.
That was pretty good.
It's just done a lot of YouTube press, like he's like the Wired autocomplete interview thing where he talks about all everyone's popular Google searches about him. And most of the time he was like, I can't share that with you because it's like really cryptic Cage information.
That's private information.
Yeah. He did reveal though on Kimmel that he bought a 2-headed snake from I think he said, funny enough, that the 2-headed snake was found in Northridge, California, and he bought it for millions of dollars, and he had to give up the snake because he said the two snakes kept attacking each other in the cage, and he couldn't contain them, so he had to sell the snake to like a zoo or something.
Oh my god.
He's
that sounds like a Nick Cage thing. Yeah,
it's pretty on brand for
that. So in that GQ article I read, the opening of it, kind of before they get into the questions, just talks about walking into his house, which I believe is in somewhere in the Southwest. I forget, like outside of Vegas or something like that. He lives in
Vegas, yeah.
Yeah, and so she basically just discusses like all the random shit he has in his house, but especially like the animals. He has animals everywhere, and he talks about each animal with like, like in that Nick Cage like tone, but in like a loving, like spiritual, poetic way. Like, I take care of her in this cage, stuff like that, and it just sounds like the funniest. Just like walk into his house, like before he even like offers the journalist like something to eat or drink, or before they even sit down, they're just like walking around, and he's talking about all these different animals he has as they pass, and it definitely sounds how it would be, considering like, I don't know, the like 2010s the late 2010s films he did are very, I don't know, like outdoorsy and have a lot of like animals in them, I think.
Pig, yeah.
Yeah, and isn't Mandy, he's like outdoorsy too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he lives in like in a cabin in the middle of like a psychedelic forest or something. Whatever's going on in that movie.
Something
nice.
Like that.
Yeah,
it seems from what I've seen, it just seems like he's trying to show that he's aware of people's opinions of him, and like his meme-ness about how he's just like a very like crazy wacky guy. But I think he's trying to show that he is human. He is human and he's aware of this stuff, but he is, at the end of the day, he is just kind of a crazy guy, but not necessarily in a bad way. So that's from the minimal press stuff that I've seen. That's what I've gathered.
Yeah, he just sees more dimensions than everybody else. That's all.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which actually comes out this weekend?
Yeah.
Set the stage a little bit. I heard an interview with the director, Tom Gormican. who's not really. He directed that movie, That Awkward Moment, which was a really subpar rom-com with Michael B. Jordan and like Miles Teller and Efron. But he wrote this spec about Nicolas Cage apparently, like way before he wrote that movie, and he's honestly he's like an obsessive fan. Like if you see the trailer, like Pedro Pascal's like this drug lord guy who's just an obsessive Nick Cage fan, and he always said like, I'm basically Pedro Pascal, and this movie is like my wish fulfillment of pay an ode to Nick Cage as like this enigmatic movie star over the past 40 years. So it's cool. I feel like a lot of filmmakers have like idolized Cage so that someone could finally make like a really, really direct ode to Nick. And I hope a lot of new, because I think the movie's geared towards a lot of a younger audience too, based on the humor in the trailer. So hopefully a lot of newcomers get to appreciate Cage and hopefully watch some of the films that we're talking about, like back in the 80s and 90s or whatever. So
Yeah, I feel like, like Werner Herzog made Bad Lieutenant for directly for Cage.
yeah.
But like this is like, that's for Cage to act in. This is Cage playing autobiographical Cage. So I feel like I feel like roles are given to Cage all the time, but maybe not as directly. Like this is like one of the first really autobiographical ones.
Yeah. Like a
about
lot of
old
roles,
Cage.
a lot of roles were designed for him to play to his strengths, for sure. This is him literally playing a heightened version of himself in kind of like a fan fiction movie about him, which we've never even seen in Hollywood, really. Like Being John Malkovich comes to mind, or something like This Is the End, but this is like a singular man and his idiosyncrasies and his there's such just a fandom around Cage, like as you see in those Reddit posts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely cashing in on like the whole meta stuff that I feel like is pretty big recently. And he seems like the perfect person to do a movie like this because he's playing himself, but he's still kind of an enigma as a person. Whereas like if like Paul Rudd or something was doing this, it wouldn't really work because we all kind of feel like we know Paul Rudd because he's just seems like a very normal, likable guy. But but Nick Cage can pull something like this off because he's just Nick Cage. He is the character of Nick Cage in real life too. I'm excited to see what it's all about.
Me too. Oh.
The Paul Rudd idea is a good idea because you could just make a movie about like nothing happening at all. And it's just like him walking around being nice to a bunch of people and doing everything like semi right.
Yeah, I would watch that still.
Yeah, I would. He's just walking around. Hey, Carolyn.
Oh, can I get the door for you? Yeah, just all these nice things. Yeah, I would totally watch that same thing. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, on that note, Jake put together these great Cage categories for our Cage match episode here, to just cover all the different kinds of Nick Cage that there are. There's so many. He's I
feel like we didn't even do it all, we didn't do it all.
Oh, no
like,
way.
Oh,
we did what we could. And I was looking at his filmography yesterday and I was like, damn, I've only seen like not even half this guy's movies. And I feel like what I've seen is very like, gives me a very good idea of what an actor he is. But like, he's made so many movies, especially in the last 10 years that I haven't seen and I have never heard of and probably won't ever watch it. It's like a little James Franco-esque in a way where there's just like movie after movie and they're like indie and you have no idea where they came from.
Straight to DVD stuff that just went like straight to Redbox rental or something.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I assumed that I'd seen a good amount of Cage and then I look at his filmography and I have a long ways to go still. But I've seen most of them. the majority that's on our list here today. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, the first category of cageness in this cage match episode, the actor cage, which is kind of what I thought of what the Academy Awards would recognize, more in the traditional acting sense and more of like the mainstream acting appeal that he has, which is like a really enduring presence and also a really charismatic guy, who has his ticks, of course, but he's ultimately, these are roles where I feel like he's playing to the strengths of like traditional like James Dean style of acting, which he always references James Dean and like Klaus Kinski and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess I'll talk about Leaving Las Vegas because I actually just watched it for the first time this year. And that movie is, like Luke was saying, about catering pretty much all the resources towards Cage. Well, I guess him and Elizabeth Shue in that sense. But yeah, that's a very bleak character piece, to say the least. But it's also like a really beautiful romance, and and some would say like his best performance, right? Like he won the Oscar. He really went method for the drunk acting in that movie. And yeah, just a really raw independent movie that kind of blew up, and his performance is still talked about like as one of the best performances I think of the 90s, and kind of jump started his career for sure, like made him like probably one of the biggest stars of the 90s. And yeah, really really fantastic film, and I'm sure you guys have both seen it or heard of it.
Yeah, I saw it for the
Yeah.
first time the other day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah, didn't know much about it, but definitely think is one of the best, if not the best, performances that I've seen of Nick Cage. Just as an actor, I think this is like, I think perfectly placed in the actor category because yeah, it's very dark and melancholic, but yeah, I don't know. He plays it off so well, and he as this drunk character, it's almost like he's sort of freeing himself in a way, but there's still a lot of that darkness there. And yeah, and I don't know. Nick Cage, it just seems like he was a natural in it. So yeah, really like Leaving Las Vegas. Was a bit of a downer, but uh, definitely definitely a great love story too with Elizabeth Shue. I thought she was great too.
Yeah, like when we're talking about roles being catered to Nick Cage, like, and it just, I don't know, it always feels like he's so good that almost every movie, it seems in a way like it's about him. And so when I'm watching like Leaving Las Vegas, I'm like, oh yeah, Nick Cage is just a drunk, and and that's why he's so good. That's why this is so real. This is just about him.
He talked about his preparation for this role and also Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, which are both like intoxicated performances. And he said he would like chug a bunch of liquor before each take and spit it out. So he'd get like the placebo effect of being wasted, and like the performances like opposite him would smell the liquor. So it was like that's method acting right there.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like Bad Lieutenant is, yeah, it's like an intoxicated performance. And it's kind of similar to like how Al Pacino in Heat
Yeah.
is like an implied intoxicated performance. Like it's never stated, it's just like something that came about in the way they played those guys. And they're both like detectives. But yeah, Leaving Las Vegas is a really awesome movie. I love 90s movies, and it's one of the, like, as when it comes to highly regarded, like, and also been seen by a lot of people, Leaving Las Vegas is actually like probably one of the top of the list, and definitely one of Cage's top ones of the 90s. So it's definitely one worth bringing up. Yeah, the next one is Adaptation, Charlie Kaufman's Nick Cage movie. It's Nick Cage's one of two Nick Cage movies where he Well, no, not exactly. Never mind.
You're about
Face
to
Off
bring up
isn't
Face Off, where
Face Off isn't the same as this. This he's playing twins. I was gonna say he's playing twins in Face Off, but he's not. Um, but he does like have to play two different people, I guess more so is what I was trying to get at.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, within the same movie, he's like two characters. And yeah, Adaptation was a movie that I saw really early on because I was like about to go to, I was going to school for screenwriting, and it's when it's just like this, you hear about this script and how crazy it is, and then I watched it and it was really crazy, and um, been meaning to watch it again for a long time now because it does demand like all of Charlie Kaufman's movies. You got to watch it a bunch of times, and it's insanely
Yeah.
complicated. And this one is really complicated.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you could definitely say it's more complicated than others. Maybe not the most complicated, but uh,
Yeah.
maybe up there among
It's
them.
another like meta-ish one too.
oh,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
And it's
they
Spike
all are in a
Jones
way.
like
Yeah,
being John Malkovich, and then
hmm
you have Charlie
yeah.
Kaufman. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's like a
Um,
companion piece, pretty much, to being John Malkovich, because it's all about the writing process for that movie. So it's like he has his own like cinematic universe, if you think about it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like that movie has gotten in the head of Charlie Kaufman better than I think most movies, because that movie's like directly about him and his insecurities and just how just hectic his brain really is.
At one point I like saved like a picture of Nick Cage just like staring at the typewriter on my laptop. It's a good image, but like it's kind of depressing too. But like that's
Iconic,
like a
yeah.
lot. This movie is like really about is just that the angst he experiences of like writer's block and then how deep it goes from there. You know what I mean? It's like a great rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah.
Like just like like a mental rabbit hole, just like of writer's block and the angst from that. Like we've talked about that in The Shining. Shining is like almost the writer's block aligns with discovering more demons within the hotel. Like it's just a great
yeah,
tool for like thrillers and rabbit holes and movies, I feel.
It's kind of like Barton Fink, in a lot of ways, where
Yeah,
it's
Barton Fink has one. It's a little more
yeah.
like easy going, but yeah, definitely has that.
yeah. The last one is Moonstruck in the actor category. Younger Cage here, and another great love story. This time with Cher. And remind me again, this is like Cher is set to marry Nicolas Cage's brother, right? And then ends up
Yeah.
falling in love with him. Uh,
Yeah. He proposes at the beginning and then he's like, "Can you go find my brother who works at like a bakery
mhm.
and convince him to come to the wedding?" And she basically does, and that leads to this sort of semi love triangle. But yeah, and it's also about like
Mhm.
how her parents have a really detached marriage and all. There's a lot going on in Moonstruck, like unexpectedly.
Yeah, Nick Cage is playing this young New York guy, that thick New York accent. Um, yeah, this is I'd say probably one of my favorite Nick Cage performances that I can remember too. This is one where he seems like a normal person, and um yeah, very just down to earth young guy. And this is yeah, it's just one of those nice down to earth movies, even though it's called Moonstruck. um yeah.
Yeah, Luke,
Yeah, I felt like
you just watched that for the first time, huh?
I did. And I felt like he just still though, like he went all in as that like, greaser dude, and the way he spoke, and like just all his speeches talking to Cher and like being like, get in my bed, and
Yeah.
like just yeah, I don't know. Like I felt like this was very like yeah, like you were saying with James Dean, like James Dean, cool guy, like over the
Totally.
top, like
Yeah.
acting, and I like the second I saw what he was doing in it, I was like, ah, yes, this is the movie right here. And on top of that, Moonstruck is just very, you subtly get very involved with this family,
Yep.
and that's what makes it so good. Um, on top of Cage's really committed performance, that yeah, it's definitely one of the best. Did the new Beverly at one time play like a trailer for Moonstruck?
I think you're
Or
thinking
is
of
that
Valley Girl, where he's
yeah, I'm thinking of Valley
yeah.
Girl.
Similar era of Cage though. Like
Because
mid
I
80s.
thought that I was watching the movie from that trailer when I saw it.
Oh, yeah, that one definitely looks worth watching too. That's like another greasy hair Nicolas Cage performance where he's a
Yeah, it
youth.
looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, it was like this very over the top like 80s trailer that's at like Quentin Tarantino's movie theater, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like curated for Licorice Pizza, so they played like Valley Girl, which is like a movie with Nick Cage, and it just shows like this romance going on, and it's very over the top and of its time, and it's hilarious. Just it made me want to watch it a lot.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, I hadn't either.
Yeah, Moonstruck is one of my favorite character introductions I can think of when it comes to Nick Cage, where she's in this like demonic looking basement and they're like baking bread. It almost looks like a sweatshop. And then Cage comes out and he's like covered in dust and like flour and God knows what. And he breaks into that really like very depressing speech, but then Cage of course makes it memorable where he's like, I lost my hand, I lost my bride. And then it's just like he kind of developed that sort of freak out Cageism in that movie, I feel like, because that's the earliest I can remember where he just went for the wall and kind of redefined what the cool archetype is that he was doing earlier. So yeah, it's an incredible movie.
Yeah, I like him in Peggy Sue a lot, which is a similar like cool 80s handsome young Cage. And that was like one of my first 80s Cage movies, so it was where I saw
Mm-hmm.
that side of him for the first time, and I thought it was just so great. I was so happy that it was how it was. That's the type of movies he did back then.
Yeah, that was the movie that got him Moonstruck, I think, because Cher saw that movie and she was like, this guy's the next big thing, and she's like, let's get him for Moonstruck. And yeah, thank God.
5 years ago, I was engaged to be married, and Johnny came in here, and he ordered bread from me, and I said, oh, okay, some bread, and I put my hand in the slicer, and it got caught because I wasn't paying attention. The slicer chewed off my hand. It's funny because when my fiance found out about it, when she found out that I'd been maimed, she left me for another man.
That's the bad blood between you and Johnny?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, but that's not Johnny's fault.
I don't care! I ain't no freaking monument to justice! I lost my hand! I lost my bride! Johnny has his hand! Johnny has his bride! You want me to take my heartbreak, put it away, and forget?
So the next category is one that is definitely like, like everyone would know this or think of this. It's worth bringing up. It's the fact that he was, in that the string of 90s action movies. Out of all the action heroes there were, Nick Cage was also, while being one of the best actors, one of the best action heroes, because he was in a few of the best action movies of the 90s that like everyone has a lot of nostalgia for, and everyone has like everyone considers them to be some of the most entertaining and also like hilarious, and yeah, so the first one is by the man who just came out with Ambulance, Michael Bay's
The Rock.
The Rock. I like had it there.
Not even a mouthful of a title.
The Rock. Yeah, all of these
Straight
movies
to the point.
in this category are on TNT like every weekend too. They're
I feel like we
constantly
could
on
just
TV.
talk about them collectively for that reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Con Air and Face Off are the other ones. They're all in the
Yeah.
same category. I feel like we could just lump them all together there.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm fine
Yeah.
with that with any of them. But yeah, I mean, I feel like these are all like different levels and types of over the top. And it's hard to pick which one is the most over the top. I would almost argue that Con Air is on my one
Yeah.
watch of Con Air. Con Air is absolutely nuts.
But then you have Face Off, which
So
is
is
like,
Face Off though, yeah.
that's arguably his most unhinged acting he's ever done, and the plot is just bananas. But yeah, maybe tonally The Rock or Con Air rather would take the cake on that
Yeah,
one.
I think he's more like subdued in Con Air because he's more the cool like action star. But
Like stoic,
in-
yeah, like
yeah, in Face
wind
Off,
blowing
he's
in his
definitely
hair.
crazier.
yeah, that
Yeah.
iconic shot, yeah.
Yeah.
But Con Air, I feel like as a whole, like I keep like juggling whether I want to talk about the movies or Nick Cage as a whole when this is Nick Cage. But yeah, he's definitely more unhinged. Out of all these movies, he's the most unhinged in Face Off for sure. And I remember watching like Face Off, and then like I also saw like Bad Lieutenant around the same time, which is one of the most unhinged ones. So at the time, it was like, you know, it just suddenly became normal. Like, oh my God, look at these crazy performances. This is just what this guy does. Like,
Yeah, you were thrown
he
into
has,
the
like,
Cage
multiple.
wildfire.
He has multiple of this. Yeah. And then I watched like Leaving Las Vegas, and he's just like in the bed, you know, and I was just like, holy shit, he also does this.
I feel like The Rock, he is playing sort of the straight man to Sean Connery's craziness in a way.
Yeah.
Right.
He's definitely, his introduction in that movie too is also just hilarious with his girlfriend that's super over the top, and Michael Bay, like awkward sexual humor or whatever. But yeah, in that he's very he's a by the books guy he just wants to save the day, and that's kind of you know, I almost named this category the Superman category because all of these movies almost led the way. I don't know if you guys read up on this, but he almost played Superman.
Him becoming Superman.
Yeah, in the late 90s, Tim Burton wanted to direct a Superman movie, and he was gonna cater it around Nick Cage. And there's a great documentary about it where we could have had this just batshit crazy Superman movie with Nick as Clark Kent. So
There's still time.
There's definitely still time.
I'd love to see like an old disheveled Superman with Nick Cage coming up.
Forget Cavill, man. We could just do the Cage version.
Yeah.
like the Matt Reeves Superman, but with Nick Cage, like a different version of.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, let's get the ball rolling. Yeah.
I also want to say a Face Off, he is publicly stated that he said that's his favorite performance he's ever given, which is pretty wild to think about because that's such a that movie has a lot of moving parts, you know, other than his performance. But I think he was like, I just wanted to be operatic and big, and that was kind of what he was culminating to, just being completely given the reign to do whatever he wanted. And yeah, and it's a very quotable movie too. Some of his most quotable lines of any action movie of the 90s for sure.
Yeah, I remember in his AMA on Reddit, someone addressed him in their question as Mr. Travolta and asked the question about Face Off.
Yeah.
And he, in his response, like he made sure to make a point that he thought it was funny. And so it's clear he really loves Face Off and that performance. So that's good. I'm glad he does. It's so ridiculous but really fun movie. So yeah, I can definitely put aside some of the I don't know. It's also not a great movie at times, but yeah, his performance makes it a lot of fun. So yeah.
Listen, I'm just a biochemist. Most of the time, I work in a glass jar and lead a very uneventful life. I drive a Volvo, beige one. But what I'm dealing with here is one of the most deadly substances the Earth has ever known. So what do you say you cut me some friggin' slack?
I like this next category. The name of it. Did a good job naming it, Jake. It's the
Thank you.
California Klaus Kinski. California version of Klaus Kinski.
Yeah, Nick. He's subtly nicknamed himself that after Bad Lieutenant Port of Call. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm the surrogate for Werner Herzog's Klaus Kinski in this movie, and in a way, he's very correct. I think it's a great way to talk about his unhinged performances. So that's basically what it means. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I should just bring up Port of Call, New Orleans, colon Bad Lieutenant, because that's the origin of this name, and that's probably the most singular Cage performance, where that entire movie is centered around him and basically a plotless film, but it's more about the hedonistic journey he goes on and his kind of descent into being one of the worst law enforcement figures ever put to screen, which is saying a lot. And that movie is just kind of exemplifies some of the best things he brings, which is just outbursts and at the same time being kind of enduring in a weird way, because you're rooting for him that movie to survive. At least I do. And yeah, him working with Herzog was a really great match, and I'm glad they and the funny thing about that movie is that the studio only made it if they attached the Bad Lieutenant stamp on it, which is the remake obviously of the Abel Ferrara movie. So it really has nothing to do with the Bad Lieutenant lore or whatever you want to call it. It's just that for studio reasons they had to kind of make it a franchise movie, quote unquote.
That's so weird.
Bizarre.
Yeah. I had been recommended this movie a couple times in the past few months, by different people, which I think is crazy because yeah, what an obscure movie. But yeah, this is the one I most recently watched. I watched this, Leaving Las Vegas, and Bringing Out the Dead in preparation for this episode.
Nice.
So three
Really
very
good trio. Yeah.
It's a great trio.
A great
Yeah.
trio, but also very depressing too.
Sure, yeah.
I might have to watch Raising Arizona next or something. But yeah, this in this and Leaving Las Vegas, when he does some like crazy things, it's a little more warranted, I guess, because he's either drunk or he's on drugs or something, where there's other performances where just out of nowhere he's just insane and crazy. But yeah, this it's definitely I can see why it shares the name Bad Lieutenant with the Harvey Keitel movie. But yeah, strange that they would do that when it really has nothing to do with it. But yeah, this was a wild ride. I knew I was in for something weird with like when I first saw like the lizard scene where he's just sort of observing them and just staring at everything, and yeah, and then his random like outbursts where he's like sup motherfucker, like he's just like he's just so bonkers. It's so great. But yeah, at the same time, like you said, Jake, I was hoping that he would get out of this, and by the end I thought the ending it was nice to see him get the promotion and everything, spoiler alert, and him not going against Val Kilmer which would have been what the old lieutenant would have done. So yeah, what a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how the Bad Lieutenant movies are kind of I don't know, this vehicle for actors to really come up with crazy performances. Like that's just like it's like a standard for male actors to just like play a bad cop and see what you can do with it. And I love how the Abel Ferreira Harvey Keitel Bad Lieutenant is really all about like in the end, like it's all about feeling empathy for this guy and really understanding this guy, and really feeling tortured like the way this guy is. But like the Herzog Cage one is really about like, let's see how far we can go with like this piece of shit and making just like the most like ape shit movie possible, and it's just I like both, and I like both of them each in their own right.
Definitely.
Like when I watch like the whatever it is, 91 to 93 Bad Lieutenant, I always think that's definitely one of the best movies there is. But like Port of Call, New Orleans is real like in terms of like a movie you want to rewatch more. I would say that one for sure.
I would agree. Yeah.
And yeah, it's just really iconic. I mean, especially considering everything Nick Cage has done. The fact that he's also done this, that you could still like pick this one out having not seen it and being like, holy shit, like it's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this it exceeded my expectations, and for how depressing a lot of parts were. Yeah, I don't know. I really loved the ending too, and just seeing him and the guy he saved back in the beginning, just sitting there in front of the aquarium. Yeah, it made all the darkness worth it in this movie. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely say I agree. I've only seen both of these movies once now, but I would for sure go back to this one first before the Ferrara one.
And was there another movie in this category? Oh, Wild at Heart.
Two
Just two
more.
more.
And
Yeah.
we've only talked about one of them.
This
My God.
is a good category. Yeah.
Yeah,
This
holy
is-
shit. I felt like
This
we just
is
talked
really the
about it.
quintessential category. So yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so too. It just felt like we talked about an entire category just now.
It kind of did.
But anyways, the other one would be David Lynch's Wild at Heart, which I feel like when everyone who's like first getting into Lynch and then goes like, oh my God, there's a Nick Cage movie with Lynch. I gotta see that. Like everyone has that moment. Like, wow, what a great pairing for Nick Cage, David Lynch. And it is. And everyone sees it and usually is pretty on board with everything. Yeah, Wild at Heart is a gem out of David Lynch's filmography, and it's because of Cage and Laura Dern and the 50s rock and roll like idea and the Wizard of Oz
Wizard of
and all
Oz
that
thing,
shit,
yeah.
and Willem Dafoe's crazy performance. Yeah.
The teeth, Willem Dafoe's teeth in that movie are something else.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think criminally underrated Lynch movie because it's not as surreal or as thought-provoking in a way as his other movies. It's more of I always say it's like his most fun movie. Like it's a road trip, romantic.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, he sings an Elvis number and they have a dance number.
Yeah.
It's just like, what more can you want from a
and it
a
is very
romance?
like it's very straightforward in comparison to most of his movies. I think I feel like there's not as
it
much
is.
to figure out necessarily. When
Yeah.
a lot of them, it's really about figuring it out, and that's why we revere them. But Wild at Heart is like so different because it's fun.
Yeah, I think Laura
And-
Dern also, she deserves just as much praise because their chemistry is just infectious and they have such a great back and
They
forth.
were meant to act together.
Yeah, which warms my heart because they're two of my favorite actors and actress on the planet. So I'm glad they had their shared screen time. for sure, and a Lynch movie of all things.
Yeah, isn't Nick Cage a huge Elvis fan too?
Yeah, yeah. I think he
I
models
remember.
a lot of his voice work, especially on Elvis.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were just talking about Superman too, and I was just remembering. I thought he like named his son Kal-El or something
His
like
son's
that.
name is Kal-El. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
It's nuts.
he's obsessed
He's
with like Elvis and
Superman.
Superman. Yeah.
Mhm.
I just met the good witch. Love me tender. Sailor. Love me sweet. Never let me go. You have made my life complete.
I would bring up Snake Eyes because that's Precious Cage in my mind at the moment. One of them, because I watched it the other night. And it could very much fit in another category that we're going to bring up later. But I just feel like we're talking Crazy Cage. And having rewatched that movie, I kind of thought, I don't know why I drew a really direct comparison to Wolf of Wall Street with Leo, where his energy kind of dictates every edit and every camera move in that movie, to where he feels like he's almost directing the movie himself by just the tone that he sort of creates throughout that movie. And it's a solid mystery movie. It's a solid like Hitchcockian thriller and really contained thriller, but his performance is just kind of a precursor to Port of Call New Orleans, where it's kind of just a tortured law enforcement officer. And yeah, his energy, especially during that opening tracking shot, which is just an amazing tracking shot going through the entire stadium, kind of just following Cage as he interacts with every character you're about to see, and he beats the shit out of Luis Guzman, and then kind of sets up how he's in cahoots with a lot of the betting going on at the stadium. And yeah, I think another great pair with Brian De Palma, someone who just loves to capture the craziness out of everyday actors and performers. So, and Snake Eyes is really underrated in my opinion.
Yeah, John, you've seen Snake Eyes, right?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot of De Palma on here, and
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I feel like Snake Eyes always comes on that De Palma run where you're like, he did a movie with De Palma? What?
Yeah, just like the
Yeah,
David
man.
Lynch. Yeah. Yeah.
In film school, they showed that I there's one day where we watched like that opening scene, the opening shot of Snake Eyes. That's like the one take of Nick Cage walking around like whatever like fight stadium it is, and it's so good. It's so good. I want to rewatch this movie a lot. I've only seen it, I think, the whole way through maybe one time, but it's really good.
All right.
All right.
The next one
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I have not seen either of these movies. But I need to.
Oh, perfect for you to.
I need to for a
bring it
palate
up, then.
cleanser. Yeah, for all these crazy ones. Now I needed a palate cleanser to watch.
I haven't seen
Subdued.
either, so
Oh
this
shit.
is kind of all Jake.
Here's what I was gonna do. I'll talk about these movies real quick, but I have not seen Pig, which I know is a great Nick Cage subdued performance.
It is.
So I thought you guys could talk about that one because it's kind of a blank spot for me. But yeah, real quick, I'll just rattle off. The Weatherman is one of the most underrated Cage performances, I think. He's a Chicago weatherman who's sort of on the outs of his marriage. And
he's a Chicago weatherman.
Yeah, that's an important detail because he gets a lot of fast food, Chicago-centered fast food thrown at him throughout the movie by just random people on the street. He gets a cake shake thrown at him in the movie. Yeah.
Wow.
Great product placement for Portillo's. Yeah, it's a really interesting movie. It's the best way I could describe it. It's like a sort of those early 2000s dark comedies um, that they're just really character based and kind of just follow someone throughout their everyday life. Um, and yeah, he's very vulnerable and just a sad man, and you could just see it in his eyes. And Gore Verbinski directed that, who's one of my favorite blockbuster directors, and is kind of like his little passion project. So I always thought that one was worth checking out. And Michael Caine gives a really hilarious performance in that too. So yeah, it's a very interesting movie. Joe
and Michael K's in
and
it.
Michael Caine, yeah,
We're in Chicago.
he says a lot of ridiculous slang throughout the movie, which is pretty wild. Joe,
Someone
That
threw
is.
a cake shake at you.
yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a line where he gets a frosty thrown at him.
Let's
he's
not
like,
let
"Wha-"
the trust fund of the cake
Yeah.
shake run out. He doesn't
get-
even say that in The Dark Knight. That's Morgan Freeman.
That's
who
Morgan
says
Freeman, yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
get your Italian beef wet or dry?
Hot peppers are sweet peppers.
Why don't
so-
you eat your own dry Italian beef without the juices in it, Master Wayne?
Oh man, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
We
great.
don't want to let the trust fund run out.
The Lamborghini then.
The Lamborghini, then, yeah.
Yeah, Joe is a David Gordon Green movie. I love the David Gordon
Oh,
Green
nice.
dramas, the little small town dramas sort of about quiet dudes. Like Manglehorn's a great little drama starring Al Pacino, just about a lonely man. But yeah, Joe he's a logger in that film, and he kind of befriends Ty Sheridan and sort of becomes like a protector of him. Like he's abused, and sort of that typical father-son dynamic that this sort of develops between them. And yeah, that was like kind of a turning point for Cage, where he kind of became more of a respected dramatic actor in the 2010s, and went that indie route that we were talking about, for better or worse. But yeah, it's a really underrated David Gordon Green movie that more people need to check out. And he's very, very understated, and very a lot is said with his face and his giant lumberjack beard in that one. So definitely check out Joe. And yeah, so you guys could talk about Pig if you want, or if you have another subdued Cage performance.
Yeah, Pig.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pig is definitely a subdued one. There are moments where he's, I think of like they're like the basement fighting ring, or an underground fighting ring, or whatever, where it really ups the ante. But yeah, it's definitely a more slowed down, subdued Nick Cage, where he's very, very much like an isolated loner guy. But yeah, I thought Pig was great, and I thought I remember seeing him. I don't know if this was also on Reddit or another thing, but he was talking about how Pig was one of his favorite movies that he's done, or favorite performances of his too, or characters that he just got to play too.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he definitely has a whole subdued side to him. Of course, like I haven't seen either of these, but when I do think of it, I'm like, oh yeah, like a lot of what he's done lately is like subdued, and like he's like a lot of inner conflict, and he's like boiling up a lot of inner like
Yeah.
hate at things. And yeah, I don't know. I'm like, it's funny because I'm not like shocked ever what he does at this point. Like it's all like I've seen it, I've seen all the different energy levels and the range. And if he's gonna come out and be like very calm, like I'm not, surprised at all, and I'm not disappointed either. Like I like it when he does that. There is something about it, and it is like a whole different side of him, and also different, just like style of acting that I also always appreciate. I love the calm, silent movies. I love Adam Driver and Patterson not talking like a lot. You know what I mean? Like I respect it. I like those performances. Yeah. especially in like smaller indie movies, that are more like artistic or something like that.
I'm looking for a truffle pig.
I don't understand.
I just want to know about the pig.
Tell him who you are. Come on, tell him.
Okay.
The next category is a funny transition from what we
Then the next one is he must have owed the mob a lot of money, which was one that really I wouldn't have thought of before doing this. I watched Bangkok Dangerous for this episode, which is one of the movies, which is like a late 2000s action movie with Nick Cage, and I believe one of the dude from The Raid, I think.
Really?
Yeah, you can check me on that, but I'm pretty sure it seemed like the dude from The Raid a lot to me. And it's just this kind of awesome stylized action flick where Nick Cage is living in Bangkok, and he's like stuck in his routine of like, I can't have any attachments or anything because I'm an assassin, and like he's the assassin who's good at it, so he doesn't like do anything but be the assassin. So he has this really sad, dark life and all that stuff, and then he takes on this protege. Were you able to check whether it's the dude from The Raid?
Yeah, confirmed it is not the dude from The Raid.
All right, well, this this citizen, then this man in Bangkok, he takes under his wing.
Yeah.
This just kid he meets, and starts teaching him. He starts like training him. So there's a lot of cool scenes where there's like, they're like he's just like pretending he's not gonna attack him, like he's not training, and then he goes like, ah, and then they start fighting, and it's really good. And yeah, it's just like one of those where like Tony Scott-esque, where it's like what's the one with Keira Knightley,
Domino,
yeah, like really stylized like 2000s action that I like. And it's cool for Nick Cage in Bangkok, and it's funny because he always goes on all these killing sprees of these people in Bangkok. And it's like, it's fine. you're like, all right, yeah, it's fine. It's what the movie's about. It's Nick Cage. And like John, you said this with Face Off. At times it is not good, but it's also still at times pretty good, and I recommend it. And it ends in kind of a prophetic. It has some meaning to it. It takes, it's not like a total, it's not like a total fuck off or anything like that. Like it has like some heart to it, a soul to it. But yeah, it's Bangkok Dangerous. And he must have owed the mob a lot of money. And he is, he's defending himself a lot from cops and the mob and all this stuff in the movie. So
that did make me want to watch it more. I haven't seen it, but you talking about it did make me.
It's on Tubi.
Yeah. Tubi.
Of course, yeah. That's definitely a Tubi run right there. Yeah, the category I should really elaborate more on, because it sounds like a movie plot, but literally I think he has owed the mob, the real Nick Cage has owed the mob a lot of money over the years. For what I don't even know why. I think it's never been clear, but I think he was in a lot of gambling debt, or a lot of his movies he self-financed went bankrupt, but I didn't expect you to actually like Bangkok Dangerous, because I think that's one of the movies he did to help pay back his debts to the whatever movie mob he's owing money to. So that's it. It's a funny coincidence that it's kind of a good action movie.
Yeah, you can tell he's been trying to pay off debt if you look at his IMDb, and it also like that's what he said in his IMDb article. That's why he's just like not the IMDb, the GQ article, which I recommend checking out, by the way, guys, because there's some great photos of him that are like worth
amazing.
like putting up on your wall or something like that.
Gorgeous,
like as
yeah.
a poster. Yeah, and he does go over the fact that he's been doing all this stuff to get out of debt. And what's funny is like well, not that funny, but a coincidence. Bob Odenkirk also has like the past decade been working off a lot of debt, and he like talks about that in like his latest book, and that's like why Bob Odenkirk started acting in a lot of things, and how he ended up being Saul Goodman and all this stuff, and kind of led to this next wave in his career. And that's kind of a similar thing to what Nick Cage has been doing lately. I feel like he maybe started off for the money, but now he's evolved into this whole new actor, and like the way he's matured has gone along, has aligned with his need to make more money, pretty much.
Yeah, to buy a zoo habitat in his house. Apparently, he's got to to keep the checks rolling in.
So what's left behind then?
Yeah, this is I watched this for the first time the other day. It's kind of it's got a reputation of being one of the worst movies of all time, essentially. You guys know anything about Left Behind at all?
Never even heard of it. No.
Okay. It's based on a really
late 90s action movie.
It was actually made, you would think, it's actually made in 2014, and it's based off a like super popular Catholic propaganda book, which basically it's about the end of the world, and half the world basically gets raptured to heaven about 20 minutes into the movie, and the rest of the movie is everyone figuring out what's happening. And it's essentially an apocalyptic movie seen through the lens of like a Catholic creative team, and it's just as horrendous as people say. I mainly checked it out for curiosity factor. It's a horrible movie, and Cage apparently was contractually obligated to do it for one reason or another, and he was apparently only on set for 7 days, and you could tell because he's like an airline pilot in the movie. And so many scenes cut to him in the cockpit with Chad Michael Murray just pontificating about the end of the world and the book of Revelations and all this shit. It's like a Lifetime original Christian disaster movie starring Nicolas Cage. So just out of curiosity factor, I had to check it out. And it's directed by the stuntman of Indiana Jones and some of the greatest action movies of all time. And not even the action is like incredibly incompetent in this movie. So yeah, it's just it's just a train wreck, and probably for my money, the worst movie he's ever done. So I think it was just kind of it was just a bucket list thing. I have always wanted to check it out. So
nice.
That's Left Behind.
I'm glad we could cover the worst of Cage too. All right, well that's our is that all of our mob movies?
Yeah, you could just go on IMDb and just scroll his 2010 filmography, and you could sort of see the other ones we're talking about.
Yeah, I see. Like I thought that you meant like the plot of these movies was he always owes the mob money, not like not like in real life. He
not
made
literally, yeah.
So I don't think in the movie I discussed, then, to clarify, Bangkok Dangerous, he doesn't owe the mob any money, I'm pretty sure. I mainly just said that because the category said that, so I'm like, oh yeah, he must have also owed the mob money in this movie. I wanted to be I wanted to be thorough here, not no plot holes.
I
But
kind of
no,
realized that throughout
to
your
clar-
explanation. I was like,
to
oh, he must.
clarify, well, I like went through like, yeah, he's an assassin. He trains the kid, and somewhere involved, he owes the mob some money.
Subplot you missed or something.
I thought, yeah, like I totally was willing to accept that I missed that whole part of it,
That's
which is
hilarious.
fine. Oh, there's one more category. It's called working with the best.
Yeah.
And by the best in this case, we mean Martin Scorsese, the Coen brothers, and whoever the hell made Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
Kind of, yeah, that whole creative Lord and Miller, I guess, is who you'd say.
That's right. Yeah, Lord
did
Miller.
that one. Yeah.
I know there's some people who probably really worship them the way I say worship Martin Scorsese. So I'm sorry.
Man, the Lego movie and the Jump Street movies. They got.
I really loved everything Lord and Miller have done. Yeah, I
love them. They're great. Yeah.
So
Got fired.
Same 21 Jump Street crew made Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Along with it, there's like 5 directors on Spider-Verse, but yeah, like mainly those 2 are the creative force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Spider-Verse was a very big deal.
It was. And I guess did we mention the other movies too, or just the directors?
Yeah, he said Scorsese.
No, we didn't mention the other movies.
Bringing Out the Dead.
Those are still an unknown.
They could put the pieces together.
We can if you want, John, or just
Raising Arizona and Bringing Out the Dead. Those are working with the best category.
John, was that your first watch of Bringing Out the Dead the other day?
Yeah, this is my my first Bringing Out the Dead watch, and again watched 3 very dark Nick Cage movies that I need a more uplifting one, like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But yeah, we could start with Bringing Out the Dead because that's it's fairly fresh, and they're both Bringing Out the Dead and Raising Arizona have John Goodman as in it as well, who you can't go wrong with John Goodman. But I thought I know Luke had recommended Bringing Out the Dead to me, I think a long time ago when we had done Scorsese.
It must have been so long ago, yeah.
Because we've obviously done Scorsese before, and is probably around then. This is another one where Nick Cage is a very dark character, but very endearing, and you have a lot of empathy for him.
Oh yeah.
It's dark, and haven't people sort of compared this more to like a more recent like Taxi Driver type movie for Scorsese?
Sure.
Yeah,
for sure. And if you think about Schrader always writes in a Taxi Driver. Yeah, it's Schrader with the script. So like he writes a very Taxi Driver like movie every time. You know, it's almost Taxi Driver every time. But yeah, Bring Out the Dead. I don't know, when I like when I look back on it, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it's a very funny movie. Just because it's so absurd, this guy's level of like his working conditions and how his eyes are like bloodshot from the sleep deprivation and the drugs and him just losing his mind.
I did think I did laugh out loud when Ving Rhames started to pray with
the
everybody.
prayer scene, the punk rock club thing.
Yeah, I did think
that's
was
so funny.
I get, there are definitely funny moments in it. I guess I didn't think it was super funny besides that, but I could see that too.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I could see you thinking that. But yeah, like, yeah, it's just it's one of those that, like, especially because of Marty too, like, it just like builds and builds towards a breaking point, and it ends up getting so much crazier also. Um, and I feel, is this Nick Cage and Marty's only movie together also?
Yeah, that's their
Believe
one and
so.
done. He worked with Schrader a few more times, though.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Dog Eat Dog and
Dying of
the
Light.
Light. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say Dog Eat Dog would be in the it would be in the I guess the Klaus Kinski category.
Kinski.
Yeah, definitely. He's very crazy in that, and it would also be in Willem Dafoe's Klaus Kinski category
His
because he's
own,
also crazy in it. Yeah, that was my Klaus Kinski.
my Klaus Kinski moment. Yeah, Bringing Out the Dead too. It's got a whenever Marty works with Robert Richardson, the DOP, has got his movie just has an incredible flair to it. Like he worked with him on Casino, and never have the colors on screen popped better when he worked with Robert Richardson, and to portray that sort of late night New York feel and sort of those sirens kind of blaring in Nick Cage's eyes, making them redder and redder. I think one of his best shot movies, I would say, especially of that like late 90s era of Scorsese.
Yeah, it's just like crazy to think, like, I know it's like a movie and it's heightened and stuff, but the way like sometimes these New York movies are made and you just see all these things and you're like, wow, like how accurate is this to how New York was at this point in time? Like, because it's just
Right.
so crazy sometimes.
You know what?
Taxi Driver, of course, also.
This also reminded me a little bit of the new Batman movie. Of the Gotham.
It is a little like that. Yeah, it's very heightened, you know. It's
lurk
like,
in the shadows.
The new Batman's also kind of like a movie that I think is kind of funny. Even though it's pretty dark.
Colin Farrell's pretty funny.
Farrell's my favorite part of that movie. He's so good. Speaking of funny though, Raising Arizona is on the list too for obviously Joel Cohen and Ethan Cohen, their second movie. And I love the way Cage described this movie. I don't know if you guys saw the video, the GQ, where he kind of describes all of his iconic performances, and he mentioned Raising Arizona, and he's like, he kind of described that movie as like a Looney Tunes cartoon, like especially his character, like the way he kind of moves and the way he's kind of like there's like a slapstick element to his character where he's constantly robbing banks and he's kind of just running into everything and he's really clumsy and it's like a cartoon character. And I think if you think about it, one of his more unique performances, because it's very zany and just very heightened and kind of cartoonish. And I think this is a very exciting time for the Coen brothers too. They just done Blood Simple and they were going to do Miller's Crossing, Hudsucker, and obviously become masters of their craft. But here it felt like they were like really experimenting with camera and just crazy ass camera movements and just a really wacky tone. And yeah, I think I wouldn't say it's an underrated Coen brothers movie even anymore, because it's very well beloved. And it's a great early. We were talking about 80s cases, kind of differentiates itself from like Moonstruck and Peggy Sue and all that sort of stuff. It's much more of a stylized performance. Yeah,
it's very Looney Tunes, especially the fight scene with John Goodman. That is so slapstick, and he even gets like thrown through the wall, and it makes like that whole like. Yeah, it's just like if Bugs Bunny gets thrown through a wall and there's like that outline of a rabbit going through. Yeah, it's Yeah, and he when he's like robbing the convenience store, and he's just got the pantyhose on his head, and he's like, "Come on, I'm in this shit with my wife. Let's go." Yeah, it's
I'll take these diapers and whatever cash you got.
yeah, I haven't seen that before, but that's a good. I like that reference.
Yeah, and who doesn't love Raising Arizona? I don't think like you'll meet anyone who doesn't. Everyone's always every time I'm with someone, they're up for they're always like, I feel like every time, like if Raising Arizona's in the like the movie shelf we're like trying to pick from, they're like, hey, why not why not area Raising Arizona? It always gets like brought up, and like, you know, it's been gotten to the point where at times I'm like, I mean, I guess too, but I felt like the last two people I was trying to watch a movie with also wanted to watch Raising Arizona. So now you want to watch Raising Arizona too? But like, yeah, it's really great. Like, I understand it totally. It's so charming and funny, and like their old class that like the Coens doing that classical like Warner Brothers cartoony thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. And it like really unique in their early 90s filmography or late 80s filmography.
It was late
Late
87.
80s.
Yeah, 87. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luke, you just rewatched Evil Dead, and that, funny enough, this is the same DP as that Raimi did with Evil Dead 2, and you can kind of see a lot of stylistic, as crazy as it sounds, like the camera work.
Because the Evil Dead is a little cartoony. Yeah, the camera work. Yeah,
the camera feels like a character sort of fucking with all of the characters, like it has like a life of its own.
Right.
And I just love the parallels,
like an unhinged
that,
Jaws camera kind of.
Sure, yeah.
If like the Jaws camera was like trying to be really self-aware and like make you laugh, like it was going like, it's a shark right here, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
just gliding like a bird, basically.
Yeah, like I actually think some of the Jaws sequels kind of do that, just because they are like so bad, you know what I mean? Like they're just copied, they like lazily just show the camera in the water, like a stupid shot of the camera in the water.
Yeah, Jaws: The Revenge, I remember, had a lot of that.
Wake up, son. I'll be taking these Huggies and whatever cash you got.
No, not by the hair on my chinny chin chin, said the little pig. Look at that, look at him. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. That son of a bitch. That son of a bitch. You son of a bitch!
Better hurry it up. I'm in Dutch with the wife.
You son of a bitch!
Yeah, the last Working with the Best, we mentioned it before, but Into the Spider-Verse.
There we go. Yeah, bringing it back. It was once the only one we mentioned, and now we almost forgot to mention it. So
coming full circle. Yeah, him as noir Spider-Man. What's not to love? Kind of tied with Mulaney's Pig Spider-Man is my favorite of the crew in that movie. He's electric, and I always like when he's brought to the mainstream, because we've been talking about it. He's struggled to make himself relevant again, and to see him in such a massive pop culture hit like this, and to be so hilarious and great in it, it's awesome. Yeah, I love that he's in that.
Yeah, and he's definitely one of the more memorable side characters from the Spider-Verse too. You know, I think I can remember, Mulaney's and his, and I can't really think of the other ones. But yeah, I mean, those really stuck out, just that overdramatic noir Spider-Man. And he's so great. So yeah, it's good. It seems like he's turning things around, and I'd like to see it.
Yeah, that'd be all our categories there. We'll probably show these somehow, like post them on Instagram, on our Instagram account, or also on our YouTube channel or something like that. But Yeah, it's just to celebrate this new movie that I think is objectively looks awesome, and I don't think it comes out this weekend, right, Jake? Does it come out tonight even, or tomorrow? Like, when does it
That
come
comes out
out?
tonight.
It is. My friend Mario actually just texted me and said that it's a great movie. So I'm very excited
Shout
to
out
see
to
it.
Mario.
Shout out to Mario Gavin.
Per sources, per Cinebums
Shout out
sources.
to Mario in Chicago. Per sources.
Yeah, it's
my
at the time,
sources tell me.
my
We have a
sources
Woj bomb.
indicate.
Yeah. Jake Baum on the podcast live. Wow.
There you go. It's great.
We've never
There you
had
go.
something like that, you know? Someone who's like giving us
Breaking
the
news.
inside information.
Next level reporting.
Let's
I
go to
just saw
Mario.
it.
He's at the scene. Yeah.
He's
Hey guys,
like eating-
yeah, I just saw the movie. I'm outside
He's
the
like
AMC.
eating popcorn while telling us about it.
It's got
That's
a
a great
7-Eleven
segment.
hot
We
dog.
should yeah.
Oh,
we
that'd
should,
be sick. Yeah, we should get Mario as a correspondent.
we'll do another podcast while like opening night of another movie and talk about it and then cut to our field reporter on the
Yeah,
scene.
they could interview people like moviegoers.
What'd you
Yeah.
think, sir?
Sir, what'd you think?
Just
Get the fuck
harassing-
away from me. Get the fuck away from me.
was harassing people outside the AMC River East.
Well, we could have done that, John, when we had press passes. We did not. We were more of a low-key press. When we did throw our press hat on, we just kind of, we kept it low-key. We didn't want them to
We
know
did.
we were there, but we were there.
We
Didn't
were
you guys,
there.
You guys
They knew.
interviewed someone, didn't you, for that?
No, I think we had the chance to interview. Like they sent a list of like people available for interviews, and then you can request one. I don't think we ever did though.
Oh man.
We probably decided that we didn't have any questions of value to ask them. I did see I was standing like face to face with Jason Reitman at one point, but on the red carpet. But yeah, and I didn't say a word to him at all. But yeah.
One question for the bummies.
Yeah.
One question.
But next time I see him, I'll ask him something. I've had some time to think, and now I'll ask him something. Yeah.